Not all entries in the town's records end with logical conclusions. More often than not, unspeakable, almost unbelievable things occur here. In the dimly lit corners of Cedar Hollow lie the questions that have no answers. October 1st, 2007. That was the day Cedar Hollow Elementary was scheduled for a full restoration. The years had not been kind to its old bones. For over a century, it stood between the town and the woods, stoic, decaying, swallowed slowly by vines and time. The mortar cracked, the roof sagged, and so a crew was called in. They worked around the clock to preserve what little remained, and it was one of those bitter, fog-laced nights, the kind Cedar Hollow wears like a second skin, that something strange occurred. The lone contractor, finishing his shift deep past midnight, claimed he had heard a voice. Not just any voice, his mother's, calling his name from somewhere within the catacombs beneath the school. His mother, who'd been buried for over 5 years. He followed through the damp, hollow corridors, drawn by something warm, comforting, something that promised shelter from the grief he still carried. Step by step, as if tethered to a string, he descended. The lights overhead buzzed and dimmed as he reached the door. A door not listed on any blueprints. Not known to the crew, not supposed to exist. It radiated a quiet warmth, and with long, low creaks, like the breath of something ancient, it opened. Inside, there was nothing, just a dimly lit room, a pile of refuse in one corner, and his shadow, long and trembling, stretched out across the wall ahead of him. He stepped closer and saw it wasn't trash. It was a pile of clothes and an old school bag. Gouge marks lined the walls, the light flickered violently, rhythmically, keeping time with his heartbeat. And then, silence. A sharp snap as the bulb burst above him. In the dark, his shadow remained, still, watching, growing. He ran down the corridor, lungs burning, heart pounding, feeling something just behind him but never quite seeing it. He reached the cold air outside and collapsed, unconscious. By morning, his co-workers found him, shaken. He told them everything. They humored him, listened, but when they searched the tunnels, no such door existed. None has been found since. This anomaly, this peculiar event, stirred something in me. You see, I keep track of everything that happens in this whispering town. I observe, I collect, I analyze. Obsession? Perhaps, but some truths demand persistence. And yet, one thought lodged itself deep within the folds of my memory. Why did this feel familiar? It kept me awake for nights, scratching at the inside of my skull like a splinter I couldn't remove. So I began to dig. I combed through the records, from today's digital report back to the brittle papers from when Cedar Hollow was little more than a dirt road that led nowhere, and a dark forest that seemed to swallow it whole. And then, in the quiet depths of my archive, I found them. 3 cases, separate on the surface, but each tied to Cedar Hollow Elementary, and each, it would seem, to a room that officially does not exist. What follows are those files. Together, perhaps, we may trace the pattern and begin to understand the nature of this anomaly. The year was 1987 when 6-year-old Lucas Granger vanished without a trace. According to my records, Lucas was somewhat of an outsider. Few of his classmates knew him, few still took the time to like him. His only confidante appeared to be his first-grade teacher, Miss Patina Crockwitz. Most of what is known about the boy stems from her recollection. Lucas was a bright child, quiet, kind, never one to cause trouble. In rare moments of trust, he would approach Miss Crockwitz, speaking softly of his longing for friendship, of being hugged, of being seen. Warmth, he said, was something that he lacked, both in life and in the bitter winter that swallowed him. In the days leading up to his disappearance, Miss Crockwitz noticed a change. The pale, withdrawn boy had begun to smile. His cheeks, once ghostly white, were flushed with sudden color. His posture no longer slumped with sorrow, but carried a kind of eerie joy. But stranger still were his words. He told her he had made a friend. "A friend just like me," he said. "He's not cold, he's warm, and he has more than enough warmth to share." Miss Crockwitz was the last known person to see Lucas. On the morning of December 21st, 1987, he attended class. By that afternoon, he was gone. No remains were ever found, not even a footprint in the snow. The second file I uncovered dates back to 1967, when Cedar Hollow's mining industry was still thriving. It's the story of Claire Cuborn, a 14-year-old girl who vanished on the grounds of Cedar Hollow Elementary. Claire had graduated from school just 2 years prior. My records about her are sparse, but they mention her as the daughter of Greg Cuborn, a coal miner who lost his life deep beneath the earth in a collapse inside the Hollow's northern mine shafts. The last person to see Claire alive was her friend, Tamia Janos. The two girls had snuck out late one night, intent on breaking a few windows at their old school. Harmless mischief. But as they approached the grounds, something strange happened. The sharp, freezing winter air that surrounded the building began to warm. The clouds of breath they exhaled vanished. Claire stopped in her tracks. Her face went pale. She said she could hear a voice, her father's voice. It was calling to her from beneath the school. "He's not dead," Claire whispered. He survived the collapse. He dug his way out into the catacombs under the school. He's waiting down there." According to Tamia, Claire begged her to come with her. She was crying, shaking, desperate. Tamia refused. She told Claire she'd never step foot on those creepy stairs. With no other option, Claire descended alone into the darkness. And she never came back up. As minutes turned to hours, Tamia panicked and fled home. Her parents alerted Cedar Hollow PD, who dispatched a deputy to investigate. He entered the catacombs beneath the school and found nothing. Since that night, November the 11th, 1967, Claire Cuborn was never seen again. The third and final file I uncovered concerns the mysterious disappearance of one Walter Drexler, the janitor of Cedar Hollow Elementary, in the year 1947. A man unknown to most, unremarkable, unnoticed. No one could say exactly where he came from, but in those chaotic post-war years, that wasn't unusual. The teachers at Cedar Hollow rarely spoke of him, and when they did, it was only to remark, for a man of his intellect, he sweeps the floors rather well. Walter was peculiar, a quiet person. He lived alone in a small maintenance hut at the edge of the schoolyard. It was unheated, even in the biting cold of early October. When asked about it once, he reportedly replied, "Well, school keeps me warm enough." He had no friends, no family. He did his job without complaint. Every night, he made his rounds, locking doors, checking classrooms, ensuring all was still and silent before retreating to his quarters. Until one night, he didn't. October 1st, 1947, the same night, exactly 60 years before the contractor's encounter in the tunnels. When the teachers arrived the next morning, they found his flashlight lying on the ground, its beam barely flickering, pointed down the stairwell that led into the school's catacombs. There were scratch marks on the stone steps, deep ones, a few broken keys beside them, as if a ring had snapped mid-struggle. But no sign of Drexler. No body, no blood, no footprints. Just the failing light and the cold that crept in behind it. His hut remained untouched. Inside everything was in order. A small desk, a tin plate, and tucked neatly beneath his bed, a stack of handwritten journals. Most of them were ramblings, disjointed thoughts, repetitive entries like, "It hums louder at night. It knows I hear it." The last page was dated October 1st. "It's open again. I saw the warmth under the door. It called to me this time. Maybe I'll understand it if I go." Walter Drexler was never seen again. Three disappearances, 3 decades apart, 3 lives swallowed whole by a place meant to nurture and protect. A boy who longed for warmth, a girl who missed her father, and a janitor who listened too closely to the walls. And then, a contractor, drawn by a voice that should not have been. All led to the same door, a door which shouldn't exist. So what is it then? What lies beneath Cedar Hollow Elementary? Is it a place? A presence? A wound in the world that calls out to the lonely and grieving? I do not pretend to know. I only observe. I only collect. I only remember. But I believe there is a pattern. And if this place had opened before, it may open again. You may think you've seen everything Cedar Hollow has to offer, but trust me, some doors remain hidden, and some, once opened, never truly close. So now I ask you, is there a pattern? A cycle? What do you believe lies behind the door? And more importantly, when will it open again? Let me know your thoughts, your theories, your warnings. The archive is always open, and I, my friends, am always listening.